Hi everyone, it's Shem. Here's a video tutorial of how to install a seat concept foam and cover onto a Honda CRF250L seat base. But as with all my other videos, before I jump to the actual installation procedure, I wanted to give you a bit of an overview of why I decided to go for it. But if you cannot be bothered to watch it, just use the shortcuts in the description down below the video to jump to the section that you're actually interested in. Let me talk about the stock seat first, because actually for the way I've been using it so far, I don't mind it. And let me clarify that. So normally when I go off-roading or green laning in the UK, it takes me probably an hour and a half to get to the actual green lanes. And from that point onwards, you know, there is a good mixture of green lanes and normal roads for me to be able to stand up for quite a lot of time and then sit down for a little bit and stand up again. So for this type of riding, I've not had any problems with the stock seat. It was only when you have to get to the actual green lanes and spend, let's say, an hour and a half on the motorway. It's after the first hour when you start noticing discomfort. You know, it's nothing major. It's still miles more comfortable than a mountain bike seat, for example. But still, you start noticing it, and after an hour, you start kind of changing your position and so on. So for an hour, maybe 2 hours, you can put up with it. But if I was to spend any more time sitting down, I probably would want something more comfortable. And because I'm planning some European trips in the coming years, I thought that it might be a good idea to change the seat to something like seat concepts or something along these lines. And the reason why I actually decided to go for that was mainly price. Seat concepts are based in the US, so by the time I add import charges, VAT and shipping, it's actually cost quite a lot of money. And you know, spending £300 or £400 for a seat, I see it as a little bit excessive. So I actually found a seat on eBay. It was for a really good it was selling for a really good price. Okay, it was based in US, but it was much cheaper than what I would have to pay for it directly from Seat Concept. It's new, it was never fitted, so that's the reason why I went for this particular setup and not competitors or any other setup from Seat Concepts. Basically, beggars cannot be choosers. I got it for a good price, so you know, I just accept what I've been given, which in this case it doesn't have any gripper cover on it. It's just all in black vinyl. I think they call it carbon finish, and I quite like the look of it. Probably if I was to choose my own seat and materials, I would go for the gripper on the sides. I've heard that people quite recommend it, so you've got a carbon at the top and gripper on the sides. But hey, you know, I got a really good deal on that, so I can't really complain. In terms of foam, this is the standard height foam, which is a comfort foam. I'm quite happy with the height of the bike as it is. But what I would like to point out is that according to Seat Concept, the taller seat isn't necessarily more comfortable. Yes, you've got more foam there, but it's designed to give you sort of same level of comfort as this. So don't automatically assume that, oh, it's better to go for the taller seat because it's gonna be more comfortable. That's not gonna be the case according to Seat Concept. Everything that I will need for the installation is here. So I've got a flathead screwdriver that I will use for prying up the staples from the stock seat. I also have some pliers in case I need some assistance with taking them out. I've got a sharp knife for cutting off the excess material once the cover has been fitted, and I have a stapler with stainless steel staples. That might not be strong enough, might not have enough punch, so I might need to sort of hammer in some of the staples, but I don't have a pneumatic stapler and it wasn't kind of worth buying one just for this installation. Stainless steel staples, because you don't want them corroding, especially in the UK where there's quite a lot of wet weather, and just make sure that the staples you get are no longer than 6 millimeters, because obviously you don't want them to go all the way through seat plastic. And also I've got a spray adhesive. I've done a little bit of reading about it, and that should be fine for fixing foam to a plastic material, and I was able to get it from Amazon UK, I think, so I'm gonna try that. I think Seat Concepts recommend a different spray, 3M, I don't remember the number, but you know, I don't think it has to be that particular spray, but if you can get it, if not, just try to use something else like myself. So obviously we've got a seat cover here, we've got a seat foam underneath, and then we also have a plastic film, which is recommended to be fitted for wet weather riding, and there will probably be quite a lot of that in the UK, so that's gonna go between the foam and the seat cover. So in case that leaks, there is another kind of waterproof barrier between the two materials. The first thing that we'll need to do is to remove the stock seat from the bike, so I'll have to remove those two bolts and then slide the seat backwards, put it on the bench and crack on with removing staples. It doesn't appear Honda actually used stainless staples, because a lot of them are already corroding, so we are actually going to be making an upgrade. Right, staples have been removed, so let's remove the cover from the stock seat. Right, so cover is off now, so the next step is for us to remove that foam. It's attached using some sort of adhesive, so we're gonna have to be careful. Okay, that was much easier than I thought. Just have a look at it in comparison to the stock foam. So yeah, I'm not sure how well you can see it from the distance, but yeah, that's the Seat Concept foam. It's much denser, and it's also wider in the area where you're likely to be sitting on the longer trip. So obviously you don't sit close to the tank, you try to be more comfortable and you slide back. So yeah, so far so good. Right, now the foam is off. We need to get rid of the old glue, at least as much as we can if possible. And then make sure there are no sharp edges anywhere on the plastic, so when we pull the Seat Concept cover it doesn't get cut on any sharp edges. It doesn't appear that there are any here, but I'm gonna double check anyway. And then once this is done, I'm gonna degrease that, because we're gonna be gluing the Seat Concept foam onto here using the spray adhesive, so that needs to be degreased. Although it doesn't look greasy, but no harm in cleaning it with like a degreaser or a brake cleaner in this case. So yeah, and one more thing, I've said that you don't want the staples to go through the plastic. That's obviously a lot of rubbish, because even the stock staples went through the plastic. Obviously they are not sticking out much, so you'll never feel them once you're on your seat, but you know, just be aware that they do go through the plastic. We are now ready to glue the seat concept foam onto a plastic seat base. I'm gonna be using this Everbuild carpet fix spray. And normally when you use this type of spray, you're supposed to just spray it on you're supposed to spray it on both surfaces, wait a couple of minutes until it becomes tacky, and then connect two surfaces together, and after 15 minutes the job is done. In here, I'm not sure if that's exactly what I want, because while I'm putting this foam on, I want to be able to move it slightly and position it correctly. So I'm afraid that if I spray it on both surfaces, I will not get much time to actually position the foam properly. Right, it's been 2 minutes since I sprayed it on, so I'm gonna try to do it from the back. Right, I'm gonna leave it for 15-20 minutes and let it dry, and then we'll begin putting the cover on. Here we are. I actually waited until day after. There wasn't any need for it. 15 minutes would have been sufficient, but I couldn't be bothered, so we're here a day later. The glue is definitely dry. One piece of advice: if you're using the same spray adhesive as I was using, which is the carpet fix spray, I actually sprayed both surfaces, as you've seen, and then I waited a couple of minutes, and then I attached the seat foam to the plastic. That's actually a lot tackier than I thought. So once I attached the foam, there wasn't really any time for me to move it around and position it correctly. So I would say if I was doing it again, I would probably spray both surfaces and put it on straight away, so before the actual adhesive becomes so tacky and you can actually reposition the foam. So yeah, lesson learned: if you're doing it using this type of spray, it's probably better to connect both surfaces straight away. I'm not sure how it works for the recommended 3M spray, but yeah, just bear that in mind, that you want at least, you know, a minute or two to position the foam properly after you put it together. So the next step for us is to use the foil that gets applied with the seat, and doesn't look very big, but I'm hoping that's gonna be enough for the saddle. Okay, so we're gonna just wrap it around, tie it up on the back so it doesn't interrupt anything, and then we will put the seat cover on. As you can see, I've used some painter's tape just to hold the plastic foil in place. I couldn't get it as smooth as I wanted, but I don't think it matters. I mean, you're gonna be compressing the seat, so it needs to have enough kind of foil in here to stretch anyway. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the seat cover on now. The idea is to roughly align that with the seat, and I'm gonna start at the front. I want the seat cover to be tight, but at the same time I don't want the seat cover to compress the foam. So I'm just gonna align the sort of sewing edge with the perimeter of the seat here, and begin stapling it, ideally in a similar position where the stock cover was. Right, I can tell you straight away, the stapler doesn't have enough punch. None of the staples, even on the highest setting, seem to be going through, which I'm a little bit disappointed about. I thought it's not gonna be that much of an issue, so I'm having to kind of, punch them in with a hammer, which is not ideal. but at this stage I'm gonna try to finish it off like this, and if that doesn't work, I'll probably get a pneumatic stapler. Right, so a quick update. This part isn't going very smooth at all, partially due to this stapler not being strong enough, so when I staple it, it doesn't hold it properly, and then, you know, probably it's not only stapler, but it makes things more difficult than they need to be. So if you've got a pneumatic stapler, I would definitely recommend doing it with that, unless you've got a hand stapler that is stronger than this. Also, I found the alignment really difficult, like how do I put enough tension on that, but not enough tension to squeeze the foam, so it has to be tense enough so the cover is stretched, but at the same time you don't want it to be pulling the foam, so I found finding that balance a little difficult. It's probably lack of practice, you know, it's the first time in my life that I'm dealing with upholstery. I also found that it's easier if you position the thing first and then staple it in a couple of places, so at least it's held where you roughly want it to be, and then once I've got it held in place, I'm going around and putting right tension and stapling it everywhere and making sure that it's aligned properly. So this is what I've done here so far. As you can see, you know, I've got the alignment pretty okay. Roughly I've got the same amount of material on its side, so I'm gonna continue doing that and just try to staple it all around, you know, side by side, and stretching it and making sure that the seams at the top of the saddle seat are aligned. Right, so we've got our staples in, roughly. They are not all the way in because of the staplers. I'm gonna have to hammer them in later, but they are good enough to hold the cover in place. And looking at the alignment, as you can see, the seams are evenly spread on each side. At least from my point of view, it looks half decent. So the last thing we need to do is pull that fabric here, and hopefully that will disappear. I might also need to remove the staples at the front and kind of stretch that out to get rid of those creases here, and yeah, we'll be pretty much there. Right, so after much struggle, I fitted, well, I've stapled it all the way around, and I had to hammer every staple just to make sure that it's all the way in. So it's not ideal, but unfortunately, you know, no pneumatic stapler. And as you can see from here, the seat is pretty well aligned. The one thing that I'm not sure about is that kind of creasing over here. Regardless which way I try to stretch it, it doesn't seem to go away. I've tried to pull it this way, and I also removed the staples and pull it that way as much as I could, and the kind of creasing is still here, and pulling it sideways doesn't really do much with it. So I think for now I'm gonna have to leave it as it is, but that's a little disappointing. One mistake on my part is that I didn't heat up the seat material before I started fitting it. That's something that I've forgotten about, and according to the manual you should leave it on the sun to heat it up so it's more flexible. Perhaps you can even stretch it a little bit more. So in hindsight, probably it would have been easier if I had done it. I haven't, my bad, I've forgotten about it, so I'm gonna leave it as it is, and the last bit that I'm gonna do is cut off the excess material around the staples over here, and the seat will be ready to put back on the bike. The excess material has now been trimmed, so the seat is ready to go back on the bike. Overall, the job was a bit of a pain, first because of the stapler that didn't have enough punch, and secondly because that sort of stuff doesn't naturally sit with me. I don't mind doing mechanical, but the type of upholstery stuff, I don't know, maybe it's lack of experience. So, you know, all in all, it's okay. It's not as neat as I would like it to, but hey, you know, I'm gonna have to leave it as it is. And as you can see here, there is a little bit of creasing going that I, for the life of me, couldn't get rid of. So I'm gonna leave it as it is, and you know, I'm just gonna have to live with it. Quick word about the weight. So as with all the stuff that I put on the bike, I checked the weight, and actually the Seat Concept foam and cover is nearly twice as heavy as the stock foam and cover. So you know, you're gaining 600 something grams, which is, you know, not ideal, but for the sake of comfort, well, it's perhaps worth it. So let's put the seat back on the bike. Again, reversal of how we removed it, so we're gonna slide it this way and put those two bolts in here. I think the manual states 21 Newton meters if I remember correctly, so that's the torque that we're gonna use for this. So let's do it. Right, this is how the seat looks fitted on the bike. Obviously not that different to the stock seat. I've sat on it for a minute just to get a first impression, and you can tell that the foam is harder than the stock seat. You can feel it's not as compliant, and also when you've got your legs down, like to keep bike in balance and you're sitting, you can feel that the seat is slightly wider here. But other than these two things, I cannot really make any comments until I go for a longer ride and be able to compare it with the stock seat. So all in all, pretty happy with it, and if you're interested in how I feel about it, look out for another video at some point in the future. Other than that, thanks for watching, and if you have any questions or comments, write them down in the comment sections below the video. See you later!